All right, welcome to the Explainer. We're going to jump right into a pretty wild idea today. What if you're not entirely in charge of your own mind? Seriously, we're going to uncover how trillions of tiny, hidden organisms living inside your gut might be shaping your every single thought, feeling, and decision. Okay, so let's just start with a number that is, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. 38 trillion. That's roughly how many bacteria are living in your digestive system right this very second. Now, to put that into perspective, let's talk about your brain. Your brain has an impressive 86 billion neurons, the cells that fire off to create every single thought you have. But that massive number is completely, and I mean completely, dwarfed by the population living down in your gut. And this just shows you the staggering ratio. For every single one of those neurons in your brain, there are about 440 bacterial cells in your gut. Think about that. And these aren't just, silent passengers along for the ride. No. They are active participants in your life.
So the big question is, how? How do these trillions of voices actually get a seat at the table in your brain's boardroom? Well, it's not magic. It turns out there's a biological superhighway.
And that connection, that superhighway, is called the vagus nerve. The best way to think about it is like a high-speed fiber optic cable running directly from your gut all the way up to your brain. And it's carrying a constant stream of information, not just one way, but in both directions. But what kind of information are we talking about here? What's being sent up that highway? This is where things get absolutely incredible. Your gut bacteria are actually producing the very same chemicals your brain uses to regulate things like mood, motivation, and anxiety. It's like they're running their own little neurotransmitter factory right there in your gut. Okay, let's take serotonin, for example. We all think of it as the happy chemical in our brain, right? Well, get this. About 90% of your body's entire supply isn't made in your brain at all. It's made in your gut. Now, just to be clear, that gut serotonin doesn't cross directly into your brain, but it absolutely influences your mood by sending powerful signals right up that vagus nerve. And look, this isn't just some theory. Scientists have actually tested this directly. In one really important study, researchers took a group of mice and they fed them a specific bacterial strain, a probiotic basically, to see if it would change their behavior. And the results, they were remarkable. The mice that got the bacteria became way less anxious. They were bolder, they were more willing to explore open spaces. It was like a complete shift in their little mouse personalities. But here's the crucial part, the real clincher. When the researchers did the exact same experiment on mice where they had cut the vagus nerve, nothing happened. The behavioral changes completely vanished. This was the proof. The bacteria were sending their signals directly up that nerve highway to the brain. So the big takeaway here is that this gut-brain connection, it isn't just some vague gut feeling. It's a real, physical, hardwired pathway that you can literally turn on and off. And you know what? This isn't just something that happens in mice. A really famous study from UCLA showed that after just 4 weeks of eating a specific probiotic yogurt, women had noticeable changes in their brain activity, specifically in the parts of the brain that control emotion and sensation. Think about that. No drugs, no therapy, just bacteria in yogurt. Okay, so we've established that bacteria can influence mood and even change brain activity. But how far does that influence really go? Let's take a look at how this might be playing out in the actual decisions you make every single day, probably without even realizing it. Have you ever had one of those intense, just out-of-nowhere cravings for something super sweet or really fatty? Well, that might not actually be you making that decision. See, certain kinds of bacteria in your gut thrive on sugar, and they can actually release proteins that make you feel hungry, basically demanding their next meal. Meanwhile, other bacteria prefer fat, and they can release chemicals that give your brain a little reward when you eat what they want you to eat. And as one of the leading researchers in this field, Dr. Athena Ectipis puts it, this is basically a form of manipulation. These microbes can actually alter your taste receptors, they can release toxins to make you feel bad if you don't eat what they want, and then give you chemical rewards to make you feel good when you do. It's all designed to steer your behavior in their favor. And this manipulation, it can go way deeper than just food cravings. We're talking about things that could potentially affect major life-altering decisions. I know it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but the evidence is surprisingly compelling. Let's talk about a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, One incredible study found that business students who were infected with this parasite were 1.8 times more likely to major in business compared to students who weren't infected.
And it didn't even stop there. That same group, they were also 1.7 times more likely to take the big entrepreneurial risk of starting their own company. Just let that sink in. A single-celled organism might be connected to your level of risk-taking and even your career path.
So, where does all this leave us? What does it all mean?
Well, honestly, it forces us to completely rethink our most fundamental idea of what it means to be a self.
We tend to think of ourselves as a single entity, right? A single I who is the rational commander in charge. But what this new science is telling us is that we're actually more like a superorganism. We're a walking, talking ecosystem where 38 trillion tiny members are constantly negotiating, debating, and, well, casting votes on our behalf.
And listen, this isn't some kind of recent hostile takeover. This is an ancient partnership. For 500 million years, animals and bacteria have been evolving side by side. The truth is, they are absolutely essential for our normal development, everything from our immune system to the very structure of our brains. This all has huge implications for medicine, as you can imagine. We now know, for example, that people with depression have measurably different communities of gut bacteria than people who don't. This is so promising that researchers are now developing what they call psychobiotics, which are basically probiotics designed specifically to target and improve mental health. So, all of this new information leaves us with some really deep and frankly challenging questions about who we are and why on earth we do the things we do.
I mean, think about it. If the bacteria living inside you can actually change your personality and your moods in just a few weeks based on what you eat, what does that mean for ideas like free will or personal responsibility for our actions and our emotions? So, here's the thought I want to leave you with. The next time you get a gut feeling about something, just pause and consider what might really be going on. Are you hearing your own intuition, or are you hearing the collective wisdom, or maybe the selfish demands of 38 trillion organisms all casting their votes on your choices? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Think about the decisions you've made today and ask yourself, who or what really made them?